Monica, my name is Mike Emick. I'm with the Office of the Independent Counsel, Kenneth Starr. Can we get her out of the room? Please. I mean, come on.
No. Make her stay and watch. I want that treacherous bitch to see what she's done to me.
Like a song of love that clings to me. How the thought of you that stings to me. Never before.
Hey y'all, it is your favorite nerdy girl here, Nerdy Girl Reviews, aka Ross Barron, and we are back with another recap for Impeachment, currently streaming on Hulu. If you'd like to see and hear the full commentary, keep me locked here on YouTube. If you're watching this on Instagram, click the link in bio. If you're watching this on IG Stories, click on the link. It'll link you back to my YouTube channel. I'm also available on TikTok under Nerdy Girl Reviews. And if you'd like to see and hear my other recaps and reviews, you can catch me on solfritoforyoursoul.com. Stay tuned for all the goodies.
That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable.
Stay tuned. Yes, y'all, you just heard a little small clip of Nat King Cole's Unforgettable. And I think that's the best way we can surmise what an affair. An affair to remember when it came to the Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton scandal. So this is American Crime. This is the third installment, so this is season 3. And not to be confused with American Horror Story. That's something totally different by Ryan Murphy. And we've had the OJ case, we've had the Versace case, and now we delve into politics with Impeachment. Now, Impeachment premiered in the summertime, but just released on Hulu, so keep that in mind. What an incredible season, y'all, though. It was 10 episodes of really like a more introspection on what that time period was, and especially what the case involved. And we see it through the perspective of the women that were very much involved in what we got to see play out on a global scale when it came to the news. Now I remember when this came out, and again, like a lot of these other stories, kind of much like the O.J. Simpson case and the Melendez brothers case, you heard about it, but you didn't like get like a full, again, we didn't have the advantages that we have today, that now and anything you can Google, you can research, you can do your own research. Back then, you got your source from the news or newspapers. So you didn't have like a fair balance of information. What I will say that the advantage here was, and as opposed to, and again, I still feel that Pam and Tommy series that they had on Hulu was still, I can't say 100% accurate because I don't know what that was for Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee. Other than the fact that they did take accounts from certain things, even like autobiographies and whatnot. But like straight from the horse's mouth, that was maybe an element that could have benefited had Pam given her blessing, but she was opposed to it. But which, not for nothing, I'm still gonna watch what she's gonna push out. I think she has something planned for Netflix, doing a whole tell-all of like what that time period was for her. The advantage here for this particular series is that yes, they had Monica Lewinsky on board, contributing what she knew. I think she was on as executive producer. So she gave, firsthand accounts of what that time was. And what you saw from the very intro, or heard, sorry, what you heard from the first intro was the first few minutes of the first episode titled Exiles, um, recounting that very traumatic experience that she went through, that a lot of us, really didn't even know until perhaps it got to like court proceedings. You see a very scared young 20-year-old, being bombarded by a bunch of agent men, FBI agents, harassing her, intimidating her, making her feel as if she didn't turn in certain information. In fact, they wanted her to start wearing a wire so that they can hone in on perjury of the president and of herself, because she had submitted a signature in terms of an affidavit swearing off anything that she had any involvement, that she was not personally linked to the president. And she lied. She had lied. So the FBI agents, and according, again, you can all do your own research in terms of finding this information. The FBI agents only had a window for 48 hours to find him guilty, find our former president, Bill Clinton, guilty of having her lie. And this entanglement, this is the original entanglement of its heyday. Sorry, Jada, we had to kind of like go, you know what I mean? Because we're still very much in that time bracket. So I just thought that would be a funny little quip. Anyway, so they wanted, especially I think they had a 48-hour window, because also a reporter, and the reporter's name escapes me right now, was about to break this story about their involvement. And how the information gets to them, well, blame Miss Linda Tripp here. Sorry girl, why did you go to these lengths? But again, it's further explained. As you watch this episode, you see how things developed, and how resentment built, and how things unraveled quickly. So we only got a very, like, as the viewing public spectators, we only got like a certain a perspective of what Linda Tripp was. And not that your point of view, not at least in my case, did that necessarily change, but you have an understanding of where the resentment came from. And kudos to Sarah Paulson, because I swear she has had to play a number of characters that were not liked, and I think also to this day are still not liked because of the actions that they took, that they thought were best suited for them. Just to have a little backstory on Miss Linda Tripp. Hold on a second. And I just want to give like not a blanketed statement, but when you hear and learn about these cases, because, not for nothing, we had such an abysmal, the last administration was just hideous, like hideous to humankind, to just basically a horrible etching of what this country is capable of. But again, this is because it came to light. I'm sure a lot of things have happened. And again, I'm not trying to do no conspiracy theories here. You suspect that a lot of things have gone unnoticed or were edited or were left out or bleeped out or whatever the case may be, just how certain things are run in this country. Um, but it gives you a clear understanding that these bullies and villains did not just happen overnight. It took a number of years to get to that point. Was our last former president Trump, you know, was he, what's the word I'm looking for? Was he the reason of why things are the way they are? No, but he did bring a lot of things to light in the sense that he just was very set in his ways, emboldened in his racism, and it didn't just like happen overnight, because we see some of the people that he would go and appoint, Brett Kavanaugh, had a history of that. And things that we weren't aware of. I sure as hell wasn't aware of it. I wasn't super political. I can't consider myself super political. But it's amazing that when you're not educated, things kind of fly over your head and you don't know the development and backstory of these people who have been, for decades, etching away at our democracy without really seeing all the details unfold like you do. And again, this is not a, playback that will give you fine details, but they always say the meaning or the message is in between lines. So that's my best suggestion when you're watching this. It's in between the lines. So a little backstory, Miss Tripp. And again, may she rest in peace. She did pass away in 2020 from pancreatic cancer. But just so you have an understanding, she was very pro-Republican. And again, I'm not saying that everybody who is a Republican also is off their rocker like the last administration. But there's some kind of conservative fanaticism that I want to say that is very much involved when it comes to that party. Not in every case. Again, I'm not trying to generalize, but there's something there. Anyway, let me just read you some backstory so I can move on. Tripp got her, this is available on Esquire's publication, online publication, esquire.com. Tripp got her start in high-level government politics in 1987, working first at the Pentagon before transferring in 1990 to work as an aide at the Bush White House. In the role of civil servant, she found a steady place in the White House and rose through the ranks to become a well-known administrative assistant in the West Wing. That position was slightly jeopardized beginning in 1993 when Bush left office and Clinton moved into the presidency. Even with a change in president and political party leadership, Tripp was kept on as administrative assistants were low level enough that replacement wasn't top of mind. Under the Clinton administration, she was moved to special assistant to the Council of the President, working alongside White House counsel Bernard Nussbaum and Deputy Counsel Vincent Foster. That is largely where the story picks up in Impeachment, specifically in regard to Tripp's relationship with Foster. The day that he died by suicide, she was the last one to see him alive. Following his suicide, Tripp had a meeting with Lucy Ann Goldberg, a prolific book agent who spoke to Tripp about writing about her time in the White House. At the time, she turned the offer down, keeping all information about her time, including Foster's suicide, to herself. Soon after, in August of 1994, Tripp was moved to a job at the Pentagon, initially deemed a promotion with substantial salary raise. Tripp made it clear that she preferred to work in the White House. A couple of years went by before the next big chapter in Tripp's life. After initially turning down a book, Tripp dabbled in a few different ideas with Goldberg, including a more straightforward telling of her life and what she had seen. Though the series suggests that Goldberg was not interested, Tripp and her shopped the idea around, particularly on the pertained as it pertained to the 1993 allegation from White House volunteer Kathleen Wiley alleging that she was sexually harassed by Bill Clinton. Of course, the trajectory of Tripp's life changed when White House intern Monica Lewinsky was transferred to the Pentagon working alongside Tripp. So we get some backstory. She felt jilted. I mean, who wouldn't? After how many years of working there, being a loyal civil servant, and then all of a sudden being bumped. And though it is semi-explained, again, we don't know if things are totally factual when it comes to the show, but you can see that Linda wasn't necessarily super liked. She was very rigid and set old school and set her ways, and not everybody necessarily warmed up to that idea. And so she was probably, upset and resentful, and probably knew maybe her time was up because, she knew that the president wasn't going to flirt with her. She had gone through a number of issues growing up. She was bullied. Somehow, she did manage to fall in love and have children, but she was going through a divorce or had been divorced around this time in her life. The irony here, the irony here is that as exits, and this woman that she was even considering writing a book about, Kathleen Wiley, I think takes her job. She's booted. She goes to the Pentagon, and she was already with her inner workings of seeing what can she do to kind of maybe get back at her. And in fact, that's what you see in one of the first couple of episodes when she's booted and she says, "I will get you for this." But here's the irony: is that when she is sent to the Pentagon and she's surrounded, she does not like it. It's a cubicle setting. She's comfortable in the setting that she had before, which was a private office, a private phone, and now somebody's next to her listening to her. They have conflict. She doesn't work well with others. And there's a moment where I think a neighbor of her calls her about some carpooling, and she notices that this woman who's sitting next to her in the cubicle is listening. She says, it's very rude. You shouldn't listen in on other people's conversations. Linda, sorry girl. What were you doing? Taping people? Remember these back in the day? Yeah. She was recording. Anyway, talking about privacy and what an injustice there. So we see how she meets Monica Lewinsky, a very precocious young 20-year-old thing. Is coming off the heels of like graduation and interning at the White House, and all of a sudden she's sent to the Pentagon. Everybody's questioning that, including herself. Like, what are you doing here? It was better suggested for her to go to the Pentagon. And she's bubbly. She's super naive, you could tell. And not for nothing, again, we don't have the whole perspective of her way of thinking, and perhaps things have changed. But from, what she used to think when she was in her 20s to now, which I don't know exactly, but she's much older now. But you hear her audio, and I'll play like a little snippet of it, and how she's openly discussing her relationship with what she called the creep, with Linda on the phone, not knowing that she was being recorded by Linda. Because once that clicked for her, she was like, hot dang, forget about that other lady that was gonna totally blow up her life. I'm gonna cash in on this one. Especially when her book agent here, Lucy Ann, was like, hot dang, you got something. You could turn that into a book, honey. We're talking about 6 figures. And she's already kind of like, even though she's making comfortable money, but she was